Welcome to Insightful Journeys, where we explore the stories of individuals who have navigated significant challenges and triumphs on their path to success. Today, we are honored to have Lwazi Dekeda join us on the show. Lwazi is a renowned lawyer, pastor, author who has made a lasting impact in both the legal and spiritual realms. As the founder and director of Lwazi Dekeda Inc., attorneys, notaries, conveyancers, he has established a reputable law firm in East London, South Africa. Lwazi is also a best-selling author of 2 inspiring books, You Owe Us Your Greatest Life, Bring Your Peace, and Go Conquer, which offer guidance and motivation to readers. Join us as we dive into Lwazi's remarkable journey, exploring his experiences, insights, and lessons learned along the way. Mr. Dekeda, welcome to Insightful Journeys. Eventually, we got you here.
Yeah, thank you very much, Brakith, and thank you for the viewers. Greetings to the viewers of Insightful Journeys. Thank you so much for this opportunity to be part of this great work that you're doing here.
Yeah, it's such a rich profile, LD. But before we get to where we are now, can you just tell us a bit about your childhood, your upbringing, and the influence that your parents had in your life?
Yes, certainly. I was born way back in 1979 in the former homeland of the Transkei. So I spent my formative years, I think about the first 4 years of my life, I grew up in Umtata. My father was a university administrator. My mother was a nurse at the time. And I was the one out of 4 children, 3 sisters. Yeah, so we grew up in Umtata for about 4 years. Then we went to the former Buputatswana, which is the northwest now.
Okay.
And we spent another 6 years there, came back to Umtata again, and stayed there till I was about 22 after I had graduated from university, the University of Transkei, having studied towards a law degree. So that was my formative years. I grew up as umzukulwana ke kamfundisi. My grandfather, the late Reverend Themba Dekeda, was a minister in the Presbyterian Church for approximately 7 decades of his life, you know.
Wow.
So I think we grew up in that environment with those Christian values.
Yes.
And those are the values that, guided one as they grew up and as they navigated life through the earlier years.
Yeah, well, it's something that you could not escape if your grandfather was in ministry. But we will get there.
Sure. Okay.
I just want to know then, what is it that drew you to law, and what was your journey like as a young lawyer starting in this profession?
It's actually quite an interesting story. I often reflect on it myself to ask myself that question. And I haven't settled on a definitive answer as yet. But there are 2 things that are quite clear in my mind. The first thing is that my father, grew up wanting to study law and wanting to be a lawyer. But unfortunately, he never had the opportunity. So I think it was financial issues. He ended up studying towards a Bachelor of Administration at the University of Fort Hare. But he always had this dream of being a lawyer. And I mean, even as an administrator, he would carry as a briefcase that lawyers carry. I suppose, living out his dream. I mean, he had suits for days, so he had a shoe for every suit. He was a gentleman and really fashioned in the lawyer type of frame. But so I think to a large extent, his dream influenced my decision.
Sure.
But I say it's an interesting journey because actually, I think towards the latter part of my high school career, I actually decided that I wanted to study architecture.
Okay.
Yeah, so I wanted to be an architect because I had a fascination with houses and building and so forth. But I doubted my ability to draft and to draw. I did woodwork. We used to have woodwork back in those days. So back in those days, there was part of woodwork was technical drawing.
Sure.
Yeah, so I was not that good in technical drawing. So that made me doubt whether I would be able to make it as an architect. but not knowing at the time that actually architects most of the time work on computers.
Yeah.
You don't actually do a lot of physical drawing to a large extent. So that changed, I think, towards matric, grade 12. And I started to think about maybe let me do interior design and become an interior decorator.
Yeah.
But my father was not too keen on that one. In fact, my sister the year before had decided to study fashion design. So already it was a struggle, and I could see it was a struggle with her because at that time there were not conventional types of careers. I mean, we're talking late 1990s. We just emerged out of the apartheid years, and so those kind of careers, interior design. In fact, my father thought it was only females who did interior design, so he was not too keen about that one. And actually, I had a discussion with my sister only yesterday when I was preparing for the show and just reflecting back on my life, that she remembers that in 1997, when she left, to study fashion design at the then PE Technicon, I had decided that I was going to do interior design, decorating.
Yeah.
And she was surprised when she came back in June. Of course, there was no WhatsApps and mobile phones then, but she was surprised that all of a sudden I'm going to do law, So I think, that's what happened there. Yeah. And to a large extent, it was the influence of my father. Also, I enjoyed watching legal dramas on TV.
Okay.
And at that age, at 17, really, you're not too clear actually what you want to study. So I think you go with your senses and and I just dived in and I studied law at the University of Transkei for 4 years.
And you did that, and you hit the ground running because you joined. You were a partner in one of the big firms, and maybe going into that phase of being a partner in that firm before making a significant career change. What was the experience like, and what led you to reevaluate your priorities?
Yeah, so I came to East London having finished off my legal degree at the University of Transkei. Now we're talking 2002. I was then doing the school for legal training, practical legal training here in East London. And towards the end of that 6 months course, there was a lecturer of ours, Mr. Mark Nettleton, who then asked if I had secured articles, and I said I hadn't. I had applied, and he asked had I applied at a firm called Marshall and Kaplan, and I said I had, but had not received any response. So he said, no, leave it in my hands. And that's when I started to see the hand of God really in my life. And the following week, I got an interview, and I was hired on the spot. Wow. So just fast forward a few years thereafter, I think I must have been about 27 at the time. I then got an opportunity to work at a firm called Abdo and Abdo. Yeah. And just 2 years into that, at 27 years, I was offered partnership at Abdo and Abdo, which was relatively rare at the time, at that age, to become a partner, in a law firm of that stature and which had that history. So, I went into it, and it was an uncomfortable but interesting and challenging journey. I went into it. I had my 3 other partners. I think the youngest one just before me was 11 years older than me. The other gentleman was about 20 years old, and the other one about 30 years older than me. And, it was a challenging journey, as I say, but it's a journey that I am forever eternally grateful for, because it has helped me become the attorney that I am today, and has equipped me with the abilities to run the firm that I run, and also employ people and chart a way forward for the establishment of a substantial black law firm that has very big dreams and very big hopes.
Yeah. And I remember, because around that time when I met you, when you were still at that law firm.
Yes.
And there was a switch. Can you take us through that? Because someone looking from, outside into your life. He sees this young lawyer who's making moves.
Sure.
But while at the peak of it,
Yeah.
you just switched. Can you take us through that?
It was a very confusing switch for many people. It caught them off guard, and they couldn't believe it, especially my partners who I was working with at the time.
Yeah.
Well, what had happened there was approximately about December 2012, I had started a journey with the Lord. In fact, I had received the Lord as my personal Lord and Savior, Christ as my personal Lord and Savior, in about September 2001. After a crazy couple of years of university life, as a young person. But I then began to appreciate that if my life continues on this trajectory, there's going to be problems. So I accepted the Lord. And fast forward, 2012, I really started to pursue God kakhulu in my life. And he began to speak to me over the years that, there is something that he has called me for, which is different from what I was doing at that time.
Okay.
So I had this growing sense in me as the years went on of discomfort about practicing the law. I remember the last year of practice, man, it was difficult for me to even wake up and go to work because I had a sense that the season had changed. In fact, I knew that the season had changed and it was time to pivot and to leave legal practice. And the irony about it was that year, 2007, 2017, when I resigned, that was my 10th year as a partner at the firm, and I had finished paying off my partnership share, so I was an equal partner with all the other three partners.
Sure.
But then God was saying, it's time. You need to leave this.
Yeah.
And I was like, Lord, John, I'm about to make some good money here. My career is growing.
Yeah.
At the time, I was not only an attorney, but I was a notary as well as a conveyancer, which is relatively, rare to have that combination, especially at that young age. But because I had been growing spiritually, my faith had been growing in my journey with the Lord, there was a very deep conviction, that I had to follow the Lord's leading, and I had to jump into the unknown because really I didn't know what the future held, but I knew the one who held the future.
Wow. I wanted us to focus on faith just as a standalone subject because you wouldn't have managed to do that, and I can relate to your story. It's a striking similarity to my story.
Sure.
Where you really apply faith, like stepping from something to land on nothing, and God holds you through it. So let's now focus on the transition now to ministry. What was the process like for you, Lwazi, to transition from a successful law career into becoming a pastor? What challenges did you encounter?
It was an interesting journey. I always say that life with God is a life of adventure. It's never short of excitement. It's never short of trepidation and fear, and of uncertainties. But as long as you're strong in the faith and your conviction is strong, which was what helped me at the time, is knowing who my God was, and understanding his reputation, that he is a God of his word, and that when he says that he'll never leave me, he'll never forsake me, that is what he's going to stick out, And I held on to the hem of his garment and said, Lord, I'm going to jump and I'm going to believe that you're going to carry me.
Sure.
So you could also imagine moving from a formal background, profession like the law, and going to work, because I went to work at my church, my home church, Downtown Christian Center. I became the pastor responsible for administration at the time. Actually, I didn't go in there as a pastor. I was ordained later on.
Okay.
Yeah, but I was responsible for handling the administration of the church. Very different environment to what I was accustomed to, the formalistic type of environment of legal practice. So there was a lot of learning that had to take place. I had to learn on my feet, but it helped me grow as a person, and it matured me, and it showed me, different sides of life. So yeah, I'm thankful to God for that experience.
Wow. We're chatting to Mr. Lwazi Dekeda, an attorney, an author, a father, and an entrepreneur of note. Now, let's look at how you balance these multiple roles of being a pastor, an attorney, a father, and as well as an author. So, how do you balance these different roles, and what advice would you give to others who may be juggling
Sure.
multiple responsibilities?
You know, in answering that question, I get that question a lot. In answering the question, I always take a leaf from an answer that T.D. Jakes gave when, he was asked that question.
Yeah.
And because I believe it's a correct answer that in life, you can't do everything all the time and be everything. There are times and seasons where you know that, okay, this is writing season.
Yeah.
Because it's writing season, it means that ndizonqaba endlini.
Okay.
I'm not going to be able to be so available to my children. And because we've got a good relationship, they understand how God has worked and continues to work in my life, we're able to manage that to a certain extent.
Sure.
Also, I don't sleep very much, so it's early hours, late nights. And I think it's the realization.
But I noticed that sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes we message each other,
Yeah.
early
Yes.
mornings. And I think it's the realization, Brakith, that tomorrow is not promised to anyone.
Sure.
Yeah, we don't know when God is going to call us home. So I always believe in what Miles Monroe says, that we must live full and die empty. Give the world everything that God has given you, because each and every person is a gift given by God to be a blessing to the world.
Yeah.
So it's incumbent on us uba siziphokoze and give the world everything we can. Yeah.
Wow. Lwazi, you've spoken publicly about facing personal challenges. And how did you navigate those difficult times? And what did your faith, the role that your faith played in your resilience?
It played an incredible role. It was pivotal. I think one can only imagine that coming from a career that pays quite decent in the law, and then leaving all of that. I mean, my salary dropped, I would imagine, anywhere between 70 and 80%. From 1 year to the next.
Yeah.
So I think it tested my faith incredibly. And I had to lose quite a number of things. I lost a house. I had to let it go. I couldn't afford to pay it. I lost, I sold both my motorbikes, and, I had to downscale. But because I understood that it was the right thing to do, maybe not at a logical level, but at a faith level, and understanding, that it was God's call on my life to go through that season, I was able, to sustain that. But of course, like with any other journey, there were valley moments, deep valley moments where it was only prayer and faith in God and believing in, because faith is the evidence of things not seen and the substance of things hoped for. So believing in God and believing in his character, that got me through. And I can never also downplay the role that my wife played. She was truly God sent as a partner, because without her, I don't believe I would have been able to achieve half the things that I've managed to achieve. She has brought such amazing stability to my life and sanity, and she has really been a great journey partner.
Wow. Let's give it to Soso.
Yeah, indeed.
Yes. And now let's come to this material.
Yes, sir.
I know this one is the first one.
Correct.
If Kabe, you can just bring that camera to that book. That was the first one. And of course, this is the latest offering. Yeah, this is the latest offering, Go Conquer.
Yeah.
Writing and authoring books, Lwazi. Your books, You Owe Us, Your Greatest Life, Bring Your Peace, and Go Conquer. they offer inspiration and guidance to readers. What is it that motivated you in the main to write these books, and what do you hope readers, take away from them?
In the main, Honorable Christo, I think it's the realization and also taking from my own journey with God in life that there's so much untapped potential in human beings. That with the right inspiration and the right knowledge, and motivation, I would say, people can do amazing things. So I believe that one of the purposes that God has called before is to unlock the greatness in others. Okay. Through my speaking and through my writing. So that's what prompted that. I think both gifts, the writing and the speaking, speak to one another in a sense, and they worked well together. So, it wasn't a natural, I suppose, thing for me, both actually speaking and writing, because I grew up as a very shy person, struggled with speaking in front of people or speaking my mind, making my opinion heard. Yeah. I struggled a lot with that. I mean, I think now I'm able, with my maturity and wisdom, to mask it a little bit better, but, just being in the public eye, was a challenge, but I had to overcome it because I understood the assignment that God had placed on my life. Yeah. So I had to put myself in positions where even though I feared, but I did it anyway. And trusting in God, of course. And He has empowered me and led me in that journey to push through my limitations. So my desire is that the work that I produce will inspire someone else also and allow them to tap into their potential and become the very best of who God created them to be.
Wow. Now, looking back on your journey, what are some of the most important lessons that you can say you've learned about yourself, your faith, your career, and how these lessons shaped you into the person that you are today?
The most important lesson is that we are created by God.
Sure.
And without relationship with Him, you can never know the reason why you were created. You can never really be satisfied in life, and you can never fulfill the reason why you were born. Yeah. And I think that's the biggest lesson and insight, as we talk about insightful journeys, that I've had for me in my journey of life, is that it's all about Him and about His plan. Yeah. We are just messengers sent by the messenger. We are just vessels in this world. But a beautiful thing happens when we are prepared, to put our lives in His hands and say, Lord, here I am, use me for your purposes. You're the one who created me. You know what I'm capable of. And I think that's the major thing I've learned about life and journeying with God.
Yeah. And of course, I will not be doing justice on insightful journeys if I don't ask you about business-wise, where are you at now and what is it that you are doing?
So in this season of my life, one of the hats that I wear, of course, of being an attorney is that I run a practice, Lwazi Dekeda Incorporated, which is a multidisciplinary practice that we assist people in various, areas of law. So I run that practice here in Vincent, Donald Road, number 20. And so that's what I'm doing primarily most of my days. Yeah. But I still work with my wife as well. We have a wedding planning and marriage enrichment business called Jewel Weddings and Seminars. And the idea there is to help to equip couples because we believe in the notion of family, we believe in the notion of marriage. And we believe that, marriage or the relationship between a married man and woman form the nucleus of society. So if we can get that one right, then the outflow goes out to society, and we can get society right. So that's what I'm busy with currently, and of course the books and the speaking and parenting and being a husband. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, we can, take talk for days and hours to an end. But I want us to touch on parenting because
Yes.
people watching you, from afar, you and your wife, the way you work together, it's something that is, envied by many. And how do you master it? Well, we have to
Yeah.
be realistic that there are moments where maybe you don't see, eye to eye on things, but you see the bigger picture. How do you navigate yourselves through that?
Yeah, well, I would be very wary in saying that I'm a master. I don't think we can ever arrive. Yeah, we can only just try our best. I think parenting has been one of the greatest gifts that God has given me.
Yeah,
Because it is in parenting that one is able, to a sense, to correct some of the things that perhaps were a shortfall in your
yeah,
experience of growing up. Because yeah, my experience was not that wonderful in terms of my father growing up with a father who was, an alcoholic. So there was a shortfall there. So I then decided that my children will never experience this.
yeah,
Yeah, so it's just, going the extra mile in terms of parenting. And I've always been an involved father. I remember one time I came back from work, my wife was tired. I put my son, they are 18 months apart, my daughter and my son. I put my son in front and my daughter in the back for about 6 hours trying to put them to sleep. And I had to sleep 1 hour and wake up and go to work. But when I look back in those moments
yeah,
and the work that I did from a parenting point of view, I can never pay enough money for those kind of experiences. And that's what accounts for the relationship that I have with my children today, because we're the best of friends with my children. So parenting is an amazing responsibility where you get to raise young lives, and be God's representative
yeah,
in
the
bringing them,
steward.
up, in stewarding them, for who God designed them to be. So it's been one of the greatest blessings, and especially doing that with my wife, Usoso, has been really fantastic. Of course, we've made our mistakes. We laugh at them sometimes when you think back about how we approach certain things. But I think with also equipping ourselves, studying, reading books, and
Yeah.
of course the guidance of the Holy Spirit, we've managed to be able to parent our kids. Yeah.
Okay, before you approach the podium, Lwazi, can you tell the viewers where to find these books?
These books are available if you go to my website, lwazidekeda.co.za. You'll get all the information there, summaries about what the books are about, as well as how you can order the books. You can also pick up the books at my office at number 20 Donald Road, Lwazi Incorporated. The first one, the yellow one, is also available in audio version, which was recorded here at Keith Ngesi Radio.
Yes.
Thanks to you, Mr. Kisto. It's available on Audible. And then, yeah, you can also get it as an ebook also on Amazon.
Okay.
But the Green Book is currently only in hard format, which you can get it via the website or at my office.
All right, Lwazi Dekeda, now it is time to approach the podium.
Thank you very much for this opportunity, for being here this day and to speak to you. Thank you for tuning in. And what I want to say to you today is that you must realize that in the eons of time that has gone past and in the eons of time to come, there will never be any person that is like you. You are unique, created by God for such a time as this. And I would encourage you to pursue God with all that you have, because it is in pursuing Him that you get to know who you are and the reason why you were created. There are so many things that are amazing that are waiting, for you to bring to this world. And the world becomes richer when you become the best that you can be. And the world becomes poorer when you fail to become the best that you can be. And you can only be that when you pursue God with all of your heart. So with those words, I trust that you are encouraged to pursue God so that we can see the very best of who He created you to be.
Thank you, Lwazi, for sharing your inspiring story with us today. Your journey from lawyer to pastor, author, and entrepreneur is a testament to the power of faith, resilience, and purpose. We are grateful for the insights you've shared with us, and we are confident that our listeners and viewers will be motivated and inspired by your experiences. To learn more about Lwazi's work, visit his law firm, Lwazi Dekeda Inc., attorneys, notaries, conveyancers, and check out his books, You Owe Us Your Greatest Life, Bring Your Peace, and Go Conquer. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Insightful Journeys. If you'd like to explore other episodes, please don't forget to subscribe to our podcast for more engaging conversations with inspiring individuals. Until next time, stay inspired, stay informed, and keep shining your light. Good night.